Hello, GDQ reviewer people. I am Tasselfoot. Everyone calls me Tass, and I'm the current world record holder for the majority of the categories of this game, including this one, any percent no out of bounds. The time of 1:25:40. GRIS is an beautiful, artistic game as art platformer with light puzzle elements by Nomada Studios and published by Devolver Digital. You might be familiar or have heard of GRIS, as it was a promoted game at SGDQ19 just a couple months ago as part of Devolver Digital's sponsorship of the event. That was where I first heard about the game and decided to pick it up, give it a try. Enjoyed it a lot and decided to start speedrunning it, so I've been doing that a lot of hours over the past 2 months or so. The game does open up with 2.5 minutes of cutscenes, followed by about 45 seconds of slow walking. So let me just give you a little bit about myself and background in case that's something that's interesting to you guys. I've worked in the indie game space for over a decade now. I used to be in charge of Flash Revolution, which is a popular web game, still around now, started in 2002. I also was a OG YouTuber. I made walkthrough videos for web games for a number of years. They've totaled over 250 million views to date. If you ever played a web game 10 years ago or so and got stuck, chances are I made the walkthrough video that you watched to get unstuck. And for the past 7 years, give or take, I've worked for Armor Games and Armor Games Studios, a destination to play web games, as well as an indie publisher for all major platforms, mobile, PC, and console. The main differences between any percent no out of bounds and normal any percent is one out of bounds skip. Saves about 2 minutes and 45 seconds. However, you have to down patch to version 1.0 of the game in order to do it. And in my opinion, it skips the most fun part of the game. It's an entire section where you collect 4 stars, and I really enjoy it. It's underwater, it's a lot of fun. So I do not run the out of bounds category, and currently the no out of bounds category is the most popular category that people run. And here we go, about get ready to start the run for real. So we are going to bunny hop throughout the entire run. Goal is to spend as little time as possible on the ground. The speed of walking across flat ground is 3.2 horizontal units, whereas single jumping in the air, you're moving at 3.3 units. Walking up or down an incline is about 2.2 to 2.8 variable, depending upon the degree of incline. Later on in the game, we'll get a double jump and glide feature, and that second jump and glide is also 3.2. So our goal is going to be to single jump as much as possible. In GRIS, there is no RNG. There's a couple little sections where we haven't quite figured out the triggers for some things, so they kind of behave a little bit like RNG, and we aren't always sure if we're going to get a good cycle or a bad cycle for them. But there's only a couple of those spots, and you don't lose very much time, even if you are off cycle. So we're coming up to our first star here, and stars are going to be what we're going to collect throughout the game. They allow us to build bridges, to cross paths, and progress throughout the game. And GRIS is very much, as I mentioned, a game as art. There is no text in the game. You cannot take damage. You cannot die. If you fall from heights, you have a little, like, landing animation. So there are going to be a lot of spots in the run where we're going to manipulate our fall height so that we don't trigger that animation. Here's a second star. And I'm going to jump into a cutscene right here. Just right there. From immediately outside of the cutscene and as far into the cutscene as I can get, because it is faster to jump into it than it is to walk into it and have to walk to the spot that we're heading to in the cutscene. So there's going to be about half a dozen places throughout the run where we're going to do that and jump into a cutscene. We are able to re-jump immediately upon touching the ground. In fact, we buffer our jumps throughout the majority of the run. GRIS is a very forgiving game in sort of the nature of not being able to die, not taking damage. Most of the platforming mechanics are very player-friendly, and we do take advantage of that in a few ways, including the fact that we can buffer jumps, which allows us to immediately jump on that first frame without having to move. So we are going to jump into another cutscene right here. So with GRIS being a game as art, the story of it is that your mother has died and you're trying to deal with her death. And so you go through the 5 emotions of grief. So we just completed the white section, or denial, which is the first emotion of grief, and we're now transitioning into red, which is the second emotion of grief for anger. And after each one of these emotions that we finish, we're going to return to the central hub of the game. And so that's where we're headed right now. And we're going to deposit the stars that we've collected up into the heavens. And you can see the bunny hopping in action here. Not my best stair climb there. You can clearly see the spots where I am not doing a good job with the bunny hop. Also, I do apologize for any sniffling, or if I do happen to sneeze in the middle of the run. I am fighting a bit of a cold right now, but still trying to get this recorded and submitted. So another really cool feature of GRIS is that the entire game and the entire map of the game is one giant piece. And so we do travel a little bit from the hub each time that we go to a new area. And there is a little bit of hopping and walking and traveling as we go from area to area and as we return back to the hub. But this is a bit also like grief itself, that it's not a straight line, it's not stages that we're going from A to B to C, and then eventually we're just over it. We do travel back and forth through those emotions of grief. The same as we're traveling back through some of the prior emotions as we're on our journey. So as we land here, you'll be able to see the fall animation that I was talking about. We're not able to prevent it here, but later on, there will be spots that we can prevent it. We're going to jump into another cutscene right there. So this is a good spot for donations. There are going to be a number of good spots for donations throughout the game, because there are going to be a lot of spots where all we are is just traveling from point A to point B. And because the game really only has one major glitch that we're not doing in this run, and because there's very little RNG throughout the run, the majority of the tricks and time saves are all coming from movement-based. And as I mentioned, taking advantage of the forgiveness in the platforming mechanics. Here we're coming up on the sandstorm section of the game. This is heavily, it's all cycles, and they're very long cycles. So from here until we get our next power-up, we cannot gain or lose any time, no matter what we do. However, to still have some fun, to not get bored in going through the 4.5 minutes of this section, myself and some of the other runners like to just see how far ahead of the sandstorm that we can get. Even though it doesn't actually save or lose any time. And so that game will start once we get past the 3rd sandstorm cycle. Some fierce wind there. The other main category, besides the 2 any%, is the category of all mementos, which is our 100% category. This involves collecting 28 optional mementos, and then also watching a cutscene that's unlocked by getting all 28 of those mementos. It adds about 11 minutes to the length of the run, and I think would provide a good incentive for the game, as you know, if we had an extra 10 to 15 minutes as a bonus for donations that we could do instead of the any% run. So I will be submitting that should this run get accepted. And I am currently the world record holder for that category as well. So now that we have those 2 stars, we're able to form this bridge here and head over to our friend, the large rock monster. It's another good place for donations. You can see the little shining orb there. That is a memento that we are not going to collect here. Although it doesn't cost us any time to grab it. Two more sandstorm cycles before we get our heavy power up. So that we can really show off how angry that we are. So overall, we did pretty well on our get ahead of the sandstorm game. But again, it doesn't actually save any time. Realistic estimate for a run on this game at a GDQ is going to be under 128. I'm going to submit at 130 just to be safe, but because of the no RNG, and there aren't too many crazy hard tricks, the run is pretty darn consistent. So anything in the 126 range is a good run, the 127 range is an okay run, and if we're getting into the low 128s, it's a pretty bad run at that point. So now we have the heavy. Let's all count to 13 together. It's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Huge time loss if we exit that heavy early and get blown all the way back to the power-up. So now we're going to exit the sandstorm section. We're going to go down into deep, dark despair and then start making our way out of it. Every section of the game has two parts to it: the initial section before you get the power-up, and then the second half of it after you get the power-up. So this is the transition into the second half of Red. Could do another donation right here. So the first quote-unquote trick of the second half of Red is doing the windmill in one cycle, which I jokingly call the hardest trick in the game, because I am incredibly bad at it. It's not that difficult to hit. I am just not good at it. So here we go. Alright, we made it, and you do want to keep jumping here, otherwise the windmill rotates slower if you're standing on it. So we got the one cycle. If we hadn't got it, it's about a 6-second time loss. And now the first quote-unquote RNG is coming up here. There's going to be two rock creatures that we're going to jump on top of and use them for getting from A to B or solving a puzzle. And as I mentioned, we aren't sure what triggers them starting, so we aren't really always sure in what position they're going to be in. So this guy, if he's not in position, it's about a 1 or 2 second time loss. So we want him to be on the right. And he's not, but he's coming back. So we're going to lose about a second or two there. Not too bad of a deal. So we can't lose any time here, because we are going to be cycled and waiting for that central platform after we grab this star up here to the left. It's not possible to make the earlier cycle here, unfortunately, at least as far as we're aware. So we're going to smash a rock up in between this central area and the upper central area. And we're going to try to do a trick called insta-heavy. Basically, the game doesn't know how to handle it if you expand into a heavy into the sprite of another object. And so it'll cancel the animation and instantly do the heavy. It saves about a second. So we're going to try it right here. We did not get it. There's going to be about 4 or 5 places that we're going to do that, either smashing a rock or trying to, or falling off the edge of a platform can also trigger an insta-heavy. So hopefully I'll pull it off at least once, save that second, and show you guys, because it looks pretty cool when it happens. So we're going to go up to the right here. And this will be the second piece of potential RNG, and it's a little bit of a bigger thing, because if it's out of cycle, not only are we going to lose about 3 or 4 seconds, but it's going to throw that central hub wheel out of the cycle that we need as well. But I think we're going to make the cycle here. Yeah, we're good. Awesome. So now we have a chance to make a fast cycle. As long as we don't mess anything else up. Gonna hop our way to the other side and grab the final star that we need to go up top. So we have a chance for another insta-heavy attempt here. This one's a little bit harder and does have a risk and a time loss if you mess it up. So I don't usually go for it there. The other one that I didn't get, there's no penalty if you fail it, so we're going to quickly hop our way up here and make it before this balloon gets to the top. Casually, you have to, that's going to get to the top, and you're going to have to heavy your way down to be able to grab that star. I don't think we're going to make the cycle here, though. We did make it, but we had to wait for it to come up. If we had timed that perfectly, we would have been able to hop up, straight up onto this platform here. So I'm gonna lose a second or two from that. Not the best hop right there either. So we are looking at about probably 4 or 5 seconds of time loss on this split, is my guess. Which is not unusual. This split is pretty hard to get them all of the cycles down perfectly. We're going to try an insta-heavy here off the edge of the Ferris wheel. And we got it. There we go. That is an insta-heavy right there. Can do some more donations here. As far as we know, none of the cutscenes in the game are skippable. Pretty bad to fall down off of these, so I take it a little bit cautiously. And now we're finished with red. We're going to transition into the third emotion of grief, that is bargaining, and it's depicted as green. Four to 5 seconds, just like I thought. So in a lot of spots of the game, it's faster when you're free falling to heavy, straight down. Because heavying has a faster vertical descent than free falling. However, out of this scene right there, we do move to the left. And so any instance where we're able to move to the left while we're falling is going to be better than free falling in a heavy. We'll come back to that little red bird right there in about 40 minutes. So some places you're blocked by an invisible wall, and in those cases it's better to heavy straight down. Or if you're in a pocket between water, which will happen a little bit later in the game, it's better to heavy in there. But there's some places where it's not better to heavy, like right there, and one other spot that I will point out when we get to it. It's another good donation spot. We just have about a 30-second long hop to the left here. Denial is going to be directly below us, and this bargaining stage is to the left of Denial, and so we have to hop our way over there. Those birds, when they explode that piece of rock there, prevents you from backtracking to the hub. We're going to try an insta-heavy here as well. Did not get it. So here we are in the bargaining forest. A large number of these square green trees are going to be cycle-based on fixed time schedules like this here. We can make the fast cycle, which I'm going to show right here. We're able to do that again by taking advantage of the easy platforming that the game has, since we do jump after the platform disappears. Oh, hey there. That's my little buddy. He doesn't know it yet, but we're going to become friends. I've nicknamed him Macaroni. If you're familiar with the song Yankee Doodle, Yankee Doodle stuck a feather in his cap, and they called him Macaroni. So if you look at our little rock creature friend here, he's got 4 feathers in his head, and I thought that was pretty macaroni. So that's caught on a little bit amongst the community. That was good. Our friend Macaroni likes apples. So just some good platforming movement there. Oh hey, Macaroni likes apples. And now he's our friend. The way to a rock creature's heart is through the stomach. You'll notice that we bargained with Macaroni. We give him apples. He may do things for us. Follow us around for sure. So if we get too close to Macaroni, though, he is going to get frightened and disappear. So we have to wait for him to start eating that apple before we can drop down. No time lost, since we do have to wait for him to eat the apple before the cutscene starts. But now we're really friends. 4 apples. That's what it takes to be friends. There we go. So we intentionally walk into that tree right there instead of jumping into it. It does save that fall animation that we had been talking about before. How about that? Thank you for opening that tree root for me, Macaroni. That was so nice of you. Probably do another donation. So right here, we do have to pause a second and then do a little fancy maneuvering to get us out of our heavying. We pause, otherwise Macaroni won't be in position. And if we don't do a little fancy maneuvering, then we're going to heavy straight down. Which, as I mentioned before, not as fast when you can move horizontally. All in all, very good start to this bargaining section. Thanks for the help, Macaroni. I hope we meet again one day. And what I really mean is, I will see you again in about 30 seconds. This little underground section that we're going to do right here, it looks incredibly simple, but it is surprisingly easy to mess one of these jumps up. I'll only lose a second or two in the process, but because it does look so easy, it's very frustrating when you do mess one up. Not bad. We have one more star to collect before we're able to get our next power-up. Do need to collect 2 stars in each area before you can get the power-up for that area. So we could do another donation here as we track to the other side. Love getting that little trick right there. I think it saves maybe half a second or so, but I'm not sure. It looks cool, and honestly, that's all that really matters. So you'll notice over here that the trees are red and not green. Instead of being time-based on how they switch based on when we jump. So you can jump on these like you do throughout the rest of the game, but you have to be incredibly quick, and the penalty for missing them is harsh. So I don't do that. It's not worth it to me. A little cautious there. But now we can get our next ability. It's very exciting. So these little red birds are basically a uber jump. Oh, look, oh my god, I golded. That's pretty cool. So by jumping onto one of those birds, pressing jump on them, it'll shoot us up into the air. And so now we have the ability to double jump. And then once we're in that double jump, we can kind of float as well. Coming up in just a little bit is going to be 2 circling red birds around a tree. And this is another spot that feels very much like RNG to us. Pretty sure it's not. If we're lucky, we can make the perfect cycle, which then leads into a great cycle immediately above. No, didn't make the cycle, but not bad. And then we jump cancel here. Alright, let's see if we can make this fast cycle here. Very tough to do. I'm gonna try it, even if I don't get it. Oh, we got it. We got the fast cycle. Oh, this is looking great, actually. Getting the fast cycle changes our cycles here. I probably could make that. Oh, that's bad. I should have been able to make that there. I don't make that fast cycle below very often, and so I'm not particularly used to the timing. So I did screw that up. That's unfortunate. Definitely a major mistake there, but those things happen. Not the end of the world. So now that we do have our double jump, though, we're going to be able to jump cancel in a lot of places. Like right there. So we don't jump excessively high and then have to fall down, which takes a long time. We do just need to be careful that we don't jump cancel too early. Otherwise, we will fall back down to our initial platform. And we're coming up on the first quote-unquote boss section, right after we jump into a cutscene here. So say hello to the bird. We're going to spend the next 4 minutes or so bargaining with this bird. So normally, you're going to have to heavy right here. But you don't need to. Here you do, though. This is a cool trick. We're gonna get pushed up by the bird, jump cancel, and then double jump. Or not. I jump canceled too early. Completely messed the trick up. Only about 2-second time loss from messing it up, but it looks really cool when you get it. Still not quite sure why the bird is angry with us in the first place. We're gonna be friends. At least for a little bit. Look at that. Read a donation in here. Bird does not like bells. Jump cancel. We're going to do our climb here to the final part of the bird fight. Let's try for the pot break. And we got the pot break. It's a small time save, but I always feel really good every time I get it. Let's not fall off the bell. Sometimes when you do this too well, you fall off. We're fine. And that's bargaining. Probably going to lose about 10 seconds here, all from that one section of 3 trees that we had that little snafu on. Really good split otherwise. Oh wow. Almost 20 seconds of time loss. Still, all from the one trick. I need to work on that a little bit more, on my timing for the fast cycle. It really is rare that I get that, so... So now that we finished emotion number 3 of grief, we're transitioning from green into blue. The 4th emotion of grief is depression. And as we start depression, we're going to have to backtrack through bargaining and denial before we get to the hub. So right here at the start on this fall, there's a trick that we can try to pull that'll save 2 seconds. We can miss it early or we can miss it late, and it is blind. Let's see. But we got it. That's the fast glide right there. Too early, we go into the building and then float into the glide. Too late, and we fall into the water. Either way loses about 2 seconds over getting that nice quick glide. Now you can see we're backtracking through bargaining. In depression here, it's raining, so there's a bunch of blocks that have appeared, covered. They were otherwise invisible, but are now shown in the rain. Here's that initial fast cycle blocks that we did on the way right to left. No problem getting them left to right either. Can do a donation or 2 right here. Should mention that for an actual run, if accepted, I'd like to have at least one person on the couch who is knowledgeable in the game to assist with commentary when I'm actively involved in what I'm doing, just to help me focus a little bit more. So now you can see that we have some water. Now, right now, traveling in water is actually the slowest means of travel in the game. It's a speed of 2.0. So we try to spend as little time in water as humanly possible. We also try to glide into the water so that we don't fall quite as far down into the water, so that we can get back out of it faster. And here we are back at the hub after flying our way through denial. Also, I would just like to mention that since we are in the depression section, if anyone there watching or paying attention is, going through a rough spell, having any difficulties or troubles or thinking things that they might be contemplating suicide, I do want to mention that the suicide hotline is always, National Suicide Prevention Hotline is always there 24 hours a day at 1-800-273-8255. Someone is always available to talk to you. Here's another spot that we jumped from lower down in that staircase there so that we avoided the fall animation. So this underground section here is going to culminate in an ice cavern that is cycle based. So this, a little bit off there. Make sure we're in the right spot. This is a trick, here saves about 5 seconds so that we don't fall heavy into that water. But I'm not sure now if we're going to make the fast cycle down below once we reach the ice cavern. It's on an 8-second timer for cycles that starts way up top at the hub. And the mistakes that we already just made right there, getting that heavy block break and getting the heavy skip, might be too much to make the fast cycle. We have about a 3-second window of forgiveness to make it, so we'll see when we get there, or if we make any other mistakes. But if we lose 8 seconds, that is why. We can only lose time increments in 8-second blocks, since we had a good backtrack. I would just like to take a moment to pause right here, just admire how beautiful the game is. Wow. So right here is mushroom skip. We're going to cut out those bottom couple mushrooms there for part 1. And we're going to cut out a bunch more mushrooms for part 2 of mushroom skip. I'm going to do the fast heavies here. Oh, there's a little bit left of where I wanted to be. I had to do one extra heavy walk. Not too bad though. I am pretty doubtful though at this point that we're gonna make the fast cycle on the ice cavern. It's not easy to make, and we've made a couple seconds of mistakes here, so there's a nice big hitbox though. Not all pots have the same hitbox, especially later in the game. Some of them are very tight. That is the friendliest hitbox on the pots in the game. So here we come up on the ice cavern. Yeah, I don't think we're going to make the cycle. We want to be there about 2 seconds faster than we were at worst, unfortunately. Yeah, so we got a long wait here. That's too bad. But not uncommon. Pretty easy puzzle here on the left side. We have a nice skip here on the right side, though, that goes from a casual 2 cycle to a 1 cycle, which involves leaving our ice heavy early, giving us enough time on the second ice cycle to make it in only 1. It'll make sense, I promise, right here. So normally this takes 2 cycles to get this, but we're gonna get there in 1, right there. That was a good grab of that star as well. So yeah, we are gonna probably lose 8 seconds here, maybe 9. And so here's the spot where there's the difference with the out of bounds skip. Now that we have our third power up dive, you're able to use an iced version of yourself to clip out of bounds and skip this entire section of the game. But this section of the game is awesome. I don't know who would want to skip it. This first star is one of my favorites. Casually, you're supposed to send the star here down and then travel back to the right and grab it on the way up. But we just heavy our way down. A good exit from the water there. Now that we have our dive power up, swimming is actually now the fastest way of traveling. Casual normal swimming is a 5 speed, and we get all the way up to a 12 when we dash. What is going on? Why was I stuck there? That wasn't good. Well, that was a little bit slow. Trying to do some fancy swim work. We're going to do that sort of movement a lot from here through the rest of the game. Grabbing those red birds and using them to propel high out of the water. That star has a terrible hitbox. You can get up into that little alcove and not grab the star. It's very frustrating when that happens. So I've learned to be extra cautious. My favorite star, also one of the if not the hardest star to do quickly, right here, is the water tower. Not perfect, but not bad of a water tower right there. I'll take it. And now we're going to meet our friend Turtle. Hello, Turtle. We can't go too far in front of the turtle because there's an invisible barrier right there. Then as he gets close, we can then go by. And we're going to heavy immediately at the water so that we can heavy out into this cutscene that's going to happen. Not supposed to be able to heavy here, but it saves 2.5 seconds. And right into the statue's butt. Doing a quick change of direction when you're in the water resets your dive. There's another good spot for some donations. Technically, that's the end of the blue section, but it's a very long backtrack to the hub here, and we do have another boss fight. So all of us technically call this whole section here still part of blue until we reach back to the hub. So this second boss fight is another manifestation that is the bird, but isn't the bird. And is going to give us a nice hot pursuit here in the water. As an eel. In this section, the two sections of the eel fight, you can get bitten here, 6 different places. We just mash the whole time. Sometimes we get bitten, but it doesn't really lose any time. And it can actually lose you more time to try to time out your proper dive from the mouth. So overall, it's just better to mash the whole way. Oh no, 2 eels. There we go. We got bit by one of the baby eels. But doesn't do anything to impede our progress. Now we have 100 eels. So that's the first part of the eel fight. Now we're gonna have a little traversing of a tunnel. Basically, you just need to learn this pathway. It's very dark, and you can't always see where you're going. So you just have to kind of memorize this tunnel. Could read another donation in here. We're coming up on the second half of the eel fight. Pretty good tunnel section. This is probably my favorite part of the game. Turtle, 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 turtle to the rescue. Turtle, turtle saving day again. Turtle, you are my hero. Turtle, why are you so awesome? Turtle, 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 turtle. Alright, now bye, buddy. That's my turtle song. I made it up. I sing it on good runs. I would be thrilled if I had the opportunity to sing the turtle song during a GDQ run. And now we're truly into our backtrack here, up into the hub. You can start to see some of the elements, both of the depression still, but also the final section of the game, main section of the game, is yellow. So you can start to see some of those yellow transitions happening into the fifth emotion of grief, and that is acceptance. Slight little bobble there. Coming up on the YOLO jump. I didn't get it. Only saves a second. It is a pretty hard setup though, and it scares the bejesus out of me anytime I actually pull it off. Because you land to the left of that platform back there and have to quickly do a single jump over to safety. Otherwise you fall all the way back to the bottom. Not my best water climb there, but no major mistakes. So now we're coming back up to the hub. Excuse me? There we go. That's what we wanted. Overall, that was a pretty good section until right there at the end. Probably would have only lost a second or two. Okay, but now we're completely finished with blue here, and we're going to travel our way up to yellow, the final emotion of grief. And that is acceptance. And here is that pot that we broke 40 minutes ago that takes us up there, if we can actually get up there. That was what I mentioned about jump canceling early being a problem. This split here is probably my least consistent. It's also probably the hardest overall, although there is a trick in the second half of yellow that I will describe that it is by far the hardest trick in the game, and also the biggest time save if you get it. Jump cancel there, jump cancel there. I clip the edge. We're going to have our first experience of the yellow birds here. The yellow birds are going to open up some area that we can't otherwise see, but only for a limited time. They are going to disappear on us if we aren't quick. No problem. We have another water section here to deal with. So we do get our dive back every time we exit and re-enter the water. So that's why I did the movement that I did up there. Could read a donation or two right about now. Jump cancel there, and we're now into the hub of yellow. Gonna go collect our 2 stars. We mentioned water is the fastest way to travel, so every time we go through one of those little pools there, we are gonna go for a little quick dip. It's gonna be 6 times total. Not my best swimming right there, but got the job done. And like spot right there, we did a little jump at the end to make sure we didn't get the fall animation. Every time we cross one of those lines there with that noise, it does change our direction and gravity. Well, that was good. Another little quick swim. I think I'm gonna sneeze, and I apologize if it happens. again, prevent fall animation. Good movement there. And we're going to do a neat little trick, save a couple seconds right here as well. So that we don't go to the other side. There we go. We're about to get our last power-up of the game after one more little swim. And this is going to give us our voice back that we've been missing for the entire game. So most of this time loss was right at the beginning of the split when I failed my jump cancel early. That was probably at least 4 out of those 6 seconds of time loss, if not more. So now we can sing, and that will open up flowers that we can then use. Those flowers will activate stuff or open up some red birds. Like that. Say hello to Mecha Spider. Hello, Mecha Spider. In honor of Mecha Spider, we're going to do a little dance. But we're not going to fall off. That would be embarrassing. So the next star that we're going to collect is in the bug room. Now this is casually 2 cycles to get the bug room. There is a pretty easy 1 cycle that saves 10 seconds, and an incredibly hard no cycle that saves 35 seconds. The no cycle trick requires 1 cycle, and then on top of it requires a pixel perfect first jump into a 2-frame second jump. So I'm going to try it. We'll see how it goes, but probably not going to get it. My world record does have it, though. So there's the 1 cycle. And we just missed the no cycle. But because we were close, we're not going to make it back, I don't believe. So we're going to be back on the casual. Yep, we just missed making it back. So we are going to be on the casual 2 cycle here. Which means we're going to lose 35 seconds, roughly, on this split. This is what I would plan for a GDQ, but, you know, so we missed it. We hit the second jump in the right window, but the first jump was 1 pixel early, and that's why we failed it. So that's what I would be planning for a GDQ. That's what I built into any sort of a run. But if we were able to pull off the no cycle at a GDQ, I mean that would be like really, really amazing. I mean, I would get fired up. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to pull it off here for this submission video, because it is a really neat trick. So now we're going to backtrack to grab 2 final stars on the other side, and one other really cool skip that we do. Could do another donation here. And these red birds that we're going to open right here, we want to jump on the right side of them. If we jump from the middle or the left side, we don't get that fluid movement. We hit the building in between. I think it saves about 2 seconds by jumping from the right side. Those red birds were very low down, very far down. They are not usually, they're usually much more central. That was weird. Not sure what happened there. But it's okay. Jumped a little bit early there. So now we're coming up to the final star, and there's another nice skip here. This is our flower room. And we're supposed to travel up to the top, open up a bunch of flowers, and then use them to get back to this side and to the exit. But we're going to skip that, and we're not going to go to the top at all. That was a really good flower skip. The power of jump cancels right there. That's flower skip. Which saves about 15 seconds. So now we have all the stars, and we're ready to finish getting into the end of the game. Finish up yellow, and head into the final 2 sections of the game, black and lilac. Because sometimes with grief, we have to hit the bottom before we can fully finish with it. I'm trying to be poetic. Out of the water, please. Thank you. So for this last section, we do not go back to the hub. We go up towards the heavens. So as I mentioned, we are going to lose about 35 seconds because we didn't get the no cycle. And trying the no cycle cost us the 1 cycle that we did get. So it looks like we are still going to get a 126, which is great. Any run that's a 126 is a really good run. That's definitely the goal, I think, for any sort of no reset or race or showcase event would be getting a 126. Cool. So we have all of our stars, and we're going to try to go up to the heavens. No tricks left at this point of the game. Just 2 short platforming sections remaining with about 5 minutes of cutscenes. So this is another good place here for donations to be read. It's gonna be about a minute and a half of cutscenes. So all of our pieces have been broken apart, and here is where we put them all back together again, after a little bit of platforming. We're going to say goodbye to our mother. That's a good water exit right there. And that's black. We do have about a 2.5 minute cutscene here, and I would say that we should read donations. However, this final cutscene is just so emotional, so beautiful, so amazing, that I almost, you know, if I had my option, I would love to just allow people to just kind of experience this cutscene. So now we're into Lilac. Just one little stair climb up. So yeah, I mean, effectively that's GRIS. Any percent no out of bounds. This is definitely a typical run, what you would expect to see. Well under the 1 hour and 30 minutes time frame. If there are any questions, please email me. I'm happy to answer them. Just would really love to be able to showcase this game off to the GDQ audience. It's a very chill speedrun. Thank you for watching and evaluating. I look forward to meeting you all at a GDQ. I'm Tass, and this has been GRIS.